Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining today's webinar, Making the Most of Your Android Mobile Device, presented by Jeff Taylor. My name is Stephanie Phelan. I'm a marketing manager at MyCase, and I will be your host today. I'd like to give you a few tips about participating on GoToWebinar. The webinar control panel is on the right-hand side of the screen. This is where you may submit questions and where you will see polls come up throughout the presentation. We save all of your questions until the end of the presentation. That's when Jeff will answer what we've collected throughout the webinar. Also, please note that these slides, the remaining questions, and the recording will be available by end of day tomorrow on the MyCase blog, and it will also be emailed to all registrants. Also, the Twitter hashtag to follow the conversation is #AndroidForLawyers. Today's webinar is hosted by MyCase, so before we jump into things, I'd like to give a quick overview. MyCase is a web-based law practice management software that takes care of your daily practice requirements for calendaring, contact management, document management and templates, time and billing, client communications, custom workflows, and more in one solution at an affordable price. MyCase is priced for solo and small firms at just $39 per month per attorney and $29 a month for a paralegal or support staff. We also offer MyCase websites for our customers. The cost to set up and build your website is only $500, and then there's a $50 per month maintenance fee. We use a modern, professional design built for your firm. The websites contain social media and blog integration. And best of all, complete integration with MyCase practice management software. Now you and your customers can log into MyCase directly from your website. Last but not least, we enjoy hosting educational events for professionals in the legal industry, and that is why we're all here today. So let me tell you a little bit about our presenter. Jeff Taylor is what you would call an early adopter. His first Android device was the original Motorola Droid, and this convinced him to use more Android in his law profession. Jeff owns and operates Absolute Legal Services, a full-service law firm in Oklahoma City. In addition to publishing the Droid Lawyer blog, Jeff serves as a chair on the Oklahoma Bar Solo and Small section and serves his community by volunteering his time as an attorney for Oklahoma Lawyers for Children. Jeff, thanks so much for taking the time to present for us and knowledge today. I'm going to hand the mic over to you now.
Thank you, Stephanie. I appreciate the invite to come and speak. As we get going, I encourage you to post those questions so we have some conversation at the end, and anything that you have and need to answer, I'm more than happy to do that. I wanted to start by kind of giving an idea of what Android is. I think most people know it's kind of this quirky little operating system, mobile operating system owned by Google. They use candy and dessert treats as their way of labeling the operating system updates. And usually about every year we see an update. The most recent one is called Lollipop. It's Android 5.0. Most new devices are running Lollipop. Most older devices are either running an Android 4.1, which is Jelly Bean, or Android 4.4, which is Kit Kat. And it's just a variation of some of the features that are available that Android has. Android's a lot like iOS, Apple's system, in that it runs on operating systems, and it's about 70% to 65 to 70% of the market, the world market, runs an Android operating system, especially in developing countries. There's a new program called Android One for developing countries such as India and some of those countries, where they're running the most recent update of Android on a cheaper phone. It's kind of Google's way of getting the information across and being able to get it out into the world. There are different types of Android devices. The first is called Nexus, and these are pure Google devices, meaning that Google has their way of talking and designing these things. The most recent device are the two Nexus 9 and or the Nexus 6 by Motorola. The Nexus 9 is a LG model. Now what these do is receive the first updates from Google and run a pure Android experience, something similar to iOS and the way that Apple does theirs, and that everybody runs the same type of operating system with the same type of features. What you also have are several different other manufacturers. The next one, probably the most common manufacturer, is Samsung. Samsung right now is making some great devices. If I was looking at a new device, I'd either choose between the Nexus 9, which is the middle tablet, it's a 9-inch tablet, or one of Samsung's newest 10.3 tablets, the Galaxy Tabs. These are fantastic devices, able to run, most of them running Android 4.4, and the Samsung Galaxy S5, and then currently to be released Samsung Galaxy S6, which should come out in the next few days, are the two newest smartphones. Samsung also has a range of Galaxy Note phones, which are larger devices with larger screens and some other features that aren't in the smaller devices. What we commonly find is our excuse me, our 5-inch or 6-inch screens, which I think are perfect for doing work and being able to get it through with information and carry on. Samsung has the tablets, which I think are some of the best tablets on the market right now and able to do a lot of things, a lot of features. Samsung does do its own little tweak to the Android operating system, giving it an experience that some people don't like. Personally, I don't mind it, but you can also tweak that. Now, there are also a number of other providers and manufacturers: Asus, HTC, Sony, Motorola. That's who made the most recent Nexus 6, and Acer. They all make different variations of the Android device. The thing with Android is it's got what's called an open operating system. That means that it's free for everybody to use and to develop on. And there's a core set of individuals or developers who manage at Google, who manage the Android open source project. That means they release the newest updates to Android, make fixes, and do changes to the operating system which allow it to go forward and develop. Now, Asus and HTC, other companies like that, go ahead and take that operating system and install it on their own. Excuse me. And what they do is go and develop into their own system and make it gives them a little tweak to what they're doing. Most of the developers or the manufacturers keep the system in the same sense, but they may add a couple extra features. Motorola has a cool little, on its Moto X device, a couple of cool little things which allow it to recognize when you're driving and moving in a vehicle, and it'll bring up a car system that'll cut it. So those are the other developers, and that's what kind of makes Android unique as to what's available and the options available. Now, if I'm going to go and look for a new phone, I'm going to look for one of these phones. My personal favorites are HTC, Motorola, Samsung, and obviously whatever Nexus device is coming out. Those are common manufacturers and do a good job of creating a system that runs clean and usually contains a lot of advanced upgrades, such as the phone capabilities, camera capabilities, which I think are important for a lot of attorneys. One of the things that Samsung does nicely is has a multitasking feature. that a lot of attorneys like, and it works well. Now we come to our first poll, which is who's your favorite device manufacturer? And we've got a couple of choices. Nexus, which is Google, and that incorporates a bunch of others. HTC, Motorola, Samsung, and other.
Okay, great. And I see that the votes are coming in. And I'm going to close the polls in just a few seconds. If you can get your votes in, please. Okay, looks like the majority has voted. I'll go ahead and close and share the results with everybody. So it looks like Samsung is our big winner with 63%, Motorola at 15%, a mixture of devices at 11%, and then HTC and Nexus are in the minority there. So Samsung is our big winner. Is that a surprise to you, Jeff?
Not really. Samsung does make a great devices. Plus, a lot of the carriers, Verizon, especially the United States, a lot of the carriers give away Samsung devices. But I can guarantee that there are probably a large number of Samsung Galaxy Note owners listening who love the Note, and it's a fantastic device. Personally, I have a Google Nexus 5, which is an LG phone, and a Samsung Galaxy S5, so I like them both and they work well. I've also owned a HTC, and so there are different qualities. So really it doesn't surprise me on the Samsung. It doesn't surprise me on the Samsung aspect because it is such a great device and they've done a really good job. Now I want to talk about setting up a new device, and what a lot of people are afraid of, and it's fairly easy. The first thing you need to know is that you'll need to have a Google account. Now this could be a Gmail, usually is a Gmail associated with that, but you can also have a Google Apps for Work account, which may not end in Gmail. For me, I have two. I have Google Apps for Work, which is the business side, and then I also have a Gmail account, and I can associate all those with my Android device. So when I sign in, it's going to ask me, when I first get the phone, it'll ask me to input that information. The nice thing about syncing with Google or with an account is that if I ever delete the device or lose it or get a new phone or a new tablet, that information and the apps that I've installed and all of the programs that I have automatically syncs from phone to phone. Now sometimes it's a little squirrely as to what it does, but it's nice to be able to take that, enter in my username, my password, and go ahead and sync, wait about 15 minutes and everything's there, download the new apps. So it's really handy. You can use your phone or your tablet without having a Google account, which I know a lot of people do. You just don't have the advantage of being able to sync across the device unless you use some other method, a sharing or a file sharing thing like that. You also want to look at security. Security on the Android device is important, mainly because as lawyers, we have an obligation to take care of the information that we have, to store and keep that information in a secure spot, and to be able to maintain client confidentiality to a number of degrees, and be able to communicate in such a way that we protect that information. You also probably are using your phone with contacts that you don't want a lot of people to know about. You don't want, and perhaps documents that you're sharing both personally and as a lawyer or for your law firm, and so you don't want a lot of people having that. As a general rule for any phone, you need to look at the security aspects and look at what's available and how are you going to protect yourself personally, and if you're using it for a business aspect as well, how are you going to protect the information that you have in that business? Now, Rule 1.6, we're all pretty familiar with this. This is the confidentiality or requirement for attorney-client and confidentiality and the duty to protect. We need to, says a lawyer shall make reasonable efforts to prevent the inadvertent or unauthorized disclosure of or unauthorized access to information relating to the representation of a client. Now, when I talk to a lot of people, I get the backfeed that, hey, we've got to do what it takes to keep ourselves protected and to protect that information, and we've got to do a lot of work to secure our devices, such as encryption. We've got to be aware of, and especially with the NSA, be aware of that. We've got to be aware of where we're talking to clients and disclosing client information, what we're sharing about clients, who's using our phone. If you have, I know a lot of attorneys take their phones home or their tablets home and let their kids play on it, who's got access to that information. These are all concerns that we need to have and that people are aware of. Now, in the same aspect, I've heard a number of people tell me that I can't use a mobile device or I can't use cloud services or software as a service, such as like MyCase or other law practice management, because that's not protecting the information. Somebody else is getting that. That's a big issue with Google, where Google's known to scan and analyze messages, email messages in particular, to present advertising. And so a lot of people are concerned that, look, I can't use that because it's sharing information with a third party who shouldn't have that information and isn't able to protect that, and that's unauthorized disclosure of that information. Well, it's not unauthorized disclosure if you're doing what's the reasonable efforts. Now, the rule doesn't require that we take exacting measures to prevent the unauthorized disclosure. It just requires reasonable efforts. Now, what that means, I don't have a clue. I don't know what that means. But I know it means things like, look, use security where it's available, especially if you're using cloud services where you can go in and get 256 AES encryption for the information that's traveling back and forth between the server, if it's in the cloud, and your computer, whether it's using encryption to send messages, whether it's using something as simple as a password to protect your phone or your tablet. These are all things that we need to consider, and these are reasonable efforts. Now, should I go to school again and become an expert in mobile security or become an expert in office security so that I can lock down my computer and make sure that it's secure and it has all the proper information? No, I don't think that's reasonable. Should I make sure that that the provider that I choose is using that information and is keeping that information secure? Yes, I should. That's a reasonable effort. I need to do some investigation into that, to who I'm selecting and what I'm selecting to use. Now, I'm on kind of a fence when it comes to mobile security and devices and things like that, because in one aspect, I think that it's not unreasonable to do the work necessary to make sure that your device is protected, is fully secure, and is fully protected, meaning you've gone through and done things like encrypted or set up special passwords and done a whole menagerie of things. On the other hand, my argument is always, I think in most general circumstances, most attorneys aren't doing as much with their devices as they think they are. And thus, the information that you're sharing is either not that important. For instance, you're sending a text message to a client that says, I'll be there in 15 minutes. Or B, you are sharing information with a third party that's going to be disclosable anyways, opposing counsel or some other aspect like that, where it doesn't really matter because there is no client confidentiality once that happens. And so I think most attorneys overlook this issue and become too infatuated on what is actually disclosure of information. Again, I don't know the line and where that is. I think that's up to each individual attorney to factor in. But what I do know, excuse me, is that all devices have a lock screen. And so if we are using reasonable efforts, that means using pattern, password, or PIN, my 3 P's of protection. That's a lot of P's in there. But pattern, password, or PIN, and on some of the newer devices, I know iPhone has this, and I know a couple of the Samsung devices have fingerprint. That might be adequate as well. I do have a concern with fingerprint because although courts have determined that you can't force somebody to give up their password, you can force somebody to disclose their PIN or their fingerprint. And so I'm kind of out of balance. And that's why I say 3 Ps. You've got a pattern, a password, or a PIN. Now, obviously, when you look at your Android lock screen and you choose to do screen unlock, you're looking at the bottom or from the top to the bottom as the least secure down to the most secure. So slide unlock is basically just swifting your finger over and unlocking it that way. Password is obviously putting in some secure password that will give you the ability to protect it. Now, there's also the balance at this point between too much security and too little security. For instance, obviously slide unlock is probably insecure, but it's most convenient. I don't have to do anything other than move my finger from left to right or right to left. Whereas password is most secure, but usually least convenient, depending on the settings. And so we've got this balancing test as to what exactly do we want and how much security do we need. Here again is an element where, is it reasonable to use pattern? Yes. Is it reasonable to use slide? Maybe in some circumstances. I don't know. My suggestion is if you're going to link your phone and use it for business purposes only, then you probably need pattern, password, or PIN, or password. Now the pattern is projected here on the right, and it's basically 6 or 9 dots in a series, and you draw a pattern to unlock it. The password is obviously something that you set up and you have to enter either time. The reason you want this is to discourage people from getting into you and using the information in your device. It's obviously if somebody wants to get into it, they're going to be able to. So it's not there to prevent them, it's more of a deterrent. But that, again, is a reasonable effort that you're making to make sure that it works and it protects your information. You can set that up by going to Menu, Settings, Security, Screen Lock. From my experience, I find, and it's unfortunate, there's probably about 40% of attorneys that I talk to that will hand their phone to me without any sort of protection. And there's probably another 20% of attorneys who will hand their phone to me with a PIN so easily recognizable that it would take about 2 seconds for anybody to break it. 1 2 3 4 9999 777, whatever. But they're so, again, the balance between security versus convenience, it weighs heavy in this situation. My suggestion is you find a PIN that's going to work be pretty strong, easy to remember, and you use something that can generate that creates a saying or a word or something you can make it out of. For instance, I could use Samsung and type out the letters in numbers for Samsung as my password. That's going to be very difficult to break, but very easy to remember. It should be something that's personal to you and works well. Now, I'm going to recommend and strongly recommend that if you're linking your Google account, this is another reason why you want to, and it's called Android Device Manager. And what this does is gives you the ability to lock up your device and locate your device if you lose it. It will, and you can use this link to get there. You set it up under the Google settings. But it gives you the ability to ring, to lock, and to wipe your device remotely and see where it is. Now, obviously, it's only as good as the distance that it's looking at, or as good as the GPS signal it can pick up. But here you can see there's a location, and it's somewhere in that location. I could go knock on that house and at least know that that's where it is. The great thing about this is you can do it from your desktop by going to that google.com/android/device manager, logging in, and that will allow you to do one of those three things and erase if necessary, but more importantly to get it locked up and prevent it from being used. That wasn't a feature that was available 2 years ago, but within the last year to year and a half, Google's really pushed this out as one of the security features that's available, which is another reasonable effort to prevent the inadvertent disclosure of the information that you have. Now, one of the big issues that we have in Android is a big antivirus malware mashup. What I'm talking about is the open nature of the apps installing and the ability to install applications outside of any special store leads developers to create malware and viruses that are for Android. Now, this isn't unusual, and it's certainly, to me, nothing to be afraid of. Again, you just need to take reasonable measures to prevent the disclosure or the inappropriate use of the information. Now, I'm not going to tell you not to get antivirus, but I don't use antivirus on any of my devices. Well, I take that back. I use it on one. And the reason being is I take reasonable measures to prevent viruses from being installed on my device. For instance, I don't click on links that I don't know where the sender is on my phone. I try to use spam and those kind of filters to prevent that. I also don't install applications unless they're from special sources or from inside the Google Play Store or things like that. The nice thing about Android is it offers multiple layers of defense to prevent applications from taking over the system. So on the outer layer here you've got Google Play, and on the inner layer you have sandbox and permissions. The sandbox and permissions means that the application can only play in the area that it's permissible. So when you install an application, Google, the Android operating system, is going to pop up a notification saying, here are the permissions that you are granting. Are you sure you want to do that? And if you say yes, then that application will be able to play in that sandbox using those toys. If you say no, then it's not going to install, and so it won't be able to go there. Google has really pushed, in light of the antivirus and malware problem, really pushed these layers of defense to try to make sure that it's protected. So yes, even though developers can install, can write programs that are filled with viruses and malware, these work to minimize it. Now, the other aspect is, if you're installing from applications from Google Play, or you live in the United States, 90% of the time you're not going to have to worry about any of these problems, because most of the viruses affect third world or dark internet, for lack of a better word, places. So applications that are being installed outside of Google Play or authorized stores, and so these are affecting those applications. If you're installing from Google Play or you install from Amazon, the App Store and Amazon, you won't have to worry about this, or you shouldn't have to worry. And the risk is so low that I think reasonable measures, I like to improve my performance of my device as opposed to drain it down with an antivirus software that I have yet to see have a problem. Now, that coming from me, I install a lot of devices outside of Google Play to test and to preview. And so some developers will send me demo models and I'll install those. And I have no problem installing those as long as I know the source of the demo and things like that. Most attorneys will never install apps outside of Google Play or some Amazon store. It's just not in our nature. We're not going to venture out. You have to be an early adopter or a tech geek like me to want to do that. And so if I recommend an app, I guarantee that most of the listeners and to my presentations, or most of my recommendations, are going to head over to Google Play and search for that, or head over to Amazon and search for that app and install it from there. Thus, I don't think that antivirus software is necessary. But you may. Do you think antivirus software is necessary on your device? Yes or no?
Great, thank you. If everyone can go ahead and put their votes in. And looks like everybody has voted. Thank you very much. I'll go ahead and close the poll and launch our results. Okay, so 73% said no, and 27% said yes, it is necessary.
And there's nothing wrong with that 27%. and again, it's preference based on what your experience is and what it is. So if you like it, a lot of people like running antivirus, and I would continue to recommend you run it. If you feel that there is a reasonable amount of risk to not run it, and it justifies that you would like to take that risk, then go ahead and do it. But the important factor is that you understand and examine the risk and the rewards and know what those are and be aware of those if you're going to make that option. Now, I want to talk about some of my favorite features that I think are important, and some of these are going to be Android 5.0. Now, I get a lot of people who come to me with devices that are running Android 3.0 or lower, 2.3 gingerbread. Sometimes I've seen a couple of devices that are honeycomb. I want to tell you this. You are going to have a much better experience if you upgrade your device to a newer operating system, Android 5.0 currently. That's just a plain given, and that is the reason why iPhone has so many people that love it, because Apple does a really good job of upgrading devices and making sure that people have a good experience. Unfortunately, because Android requires that the manufacturer upgrade as well, fewer manufacturers have been willing to do that, and even fewer carriers, mobile carriers, have been willing to do that. Again, that's the reason I like Nexus devices or Samsung devices and even Motorola devices. Those three carriers, LG to some extent as well, have made significant progress and significant moves to show that they are willing to upgrade their devices and keep them updated to the newest operating system within several months of the release. So it provides you with a much better experience. One of the things that you'll love, and this is only available in newer Android OS, and newer devices as well, is Miracast or screen mirroring. Now what this does is enables you to send your picture from your mobile device to your tablet or to your computer or to your screen, usually a television. Samsung is the hands down leader in the quality of this technology, although the Nexus 7 2013 edition has a great feature, and some of the other LG has one and HTC has similar. But Samsung, if you are dead set on being able to share your screen to your TV, Samsung is the device that you want to probably have. Nexus 9 works well too, but it gives you that full screen picture, be able to do that. Now what I use this for a lot of the time is to share Google Earth images and present those on the screen, but I've also used it to present, give presentations or share my screen. So Miracast is something that you want to look for, the ability to share your screen to your tablet or your smartphone to your television. Another great Samsung feature that they've really professed or perfected is multi-window. And this is something that was unique until iOS stole it, but Samsung still has the hands down best, which is the ability to have two screens open at the same time. This is different than being able to run different applications in the background and being able to flip through those, which is still a great Android feature that iOS recently adopted. But this is, as you see on the screen, being able to have two different things going on at the same time. So the picture, in one case you have a web browser, in the other case you have a note-taking thing. Now Samsung's limited into what it can do as to a multi-window feature, but newer versions of Android will be able to do a lot more. I also like, and if you've ever done it, the OK Google command. Now this is built into Google search, so it's across devices as long as you have the Google app, and you can use it on iOS and on Android, but it's a far better experience on Android than it is on iOS. But that is the ability to just speak, say OK Google, and have Google do a search or open an application. In Android 5.0, a new update to the Google app allows you to do things like turn on your flashlight, turn on Wi-Fi, and some of the system settings just by giving the OK Google command. But you can also find information, get directions, do a whole bunch of things just by doing the search. That is something that Android has done really well that iOS is starting to pick up through the Google search app. This is an Android 5.0 feature, but there's also an app called Screen Lock, I think. But it is a lock screen notification which gives you a drop-down menu, as you see, of what's going on. And so you can have emails show up, you can have calls show up, whatever, as long as the app sends a notification to the top of your screen, that will appear on your lock screen, so that you don't even need to open your applications or open your phone, unlock your phone to see what the notes are. And it's also able to restrict the information that's shown. So if you have a particular sensitive email, for instance, if you're using Google for work and you don't want your Google Apps for Work emails showing up on the lock screen, it will just show that there is an email to that account. It will not get the contents. So you can restrict what's shown based on your privacy settings. Another really great feature. One of the things I'm asked all the time is, how can I use Android to improve my law practice? And I will put this disclaimer out there. You will probably not improve much on your law practice just by simply adopting Android. The reason I say that is because you're probably already doing a number of things that are already making you successful and already making you, giving you the ability to go remotely and do things remotely. That said, having Android gives you the power to practice law anywhere. I was on vacation and was able to answer client emails and client texts from anywhere. Now you'll also see, and this is my caveat to Android versus iOS and iPad especially, why more lawyers adopt iPad is because they believe that iPad is available, that more applications are available for iPad, and that's simply not the case. If you look at what you're doing on a daily basis, I guarantee 90% of the work that we do as lawyers is generic, basic things like sending emails, drafting documents, making phone calls, all of which are available on Android. So that will cross-platform be available regardless of what you choose. Now I want to ask you before we get into this, where does Android fall short for lawyers? Is it document production, lawyer apps, meaning things like TrialPad that's on iOS, or just some universal applicability, or viruses or malware? So answer the poll.
Okay, thanks. And the votes are coming in. And if you can just take the next few seconds to go ahead and place your vote there, I will close the poll and share our results. Here we go. Okay, so 45% say Android falls short in the area of document production, 43% apps for lawyers, 9% universal applicability, and 4% for viruses and malware. Is that about what you expect to see, that emphasis on document production?
Not so much document production, but lawyer apps, that doesn't surprise me, and that's simply the case, and the reason I believe that is because there isn't a lot of money to be made in creating lawyer apps for Android because of the small niche market. Only about 20% of lawyers, maybe 30% of lawyers actually use Android. Document production does surprise me because I use my Android device all the time to create documents and to do a lot of work on my Android device for documents, and especially with great products like Google Docs and now Office, which is available and for Android tablets and smartphones. So that I'm really shocked at that, and there are great apps for Adobe PDF. Let me tell you the first way that I like to use Android, and this kind of helps with document production. And that is speech recognition and transcription. I think Android has one of the best speech recognition voice-to-text engines that is available for free that lawyers can use and can take advantage of. And it beats, that's not just the OK Google command, which is the Siri type thing for iPad or iOS lawyers, but speech voice to text. And when I say transcription, I'm talking dragon-like stuff. Now what you do is you find that under the Google speech key, and most new devices, and here again is another reason to upgrade your device, most new devices have the built-in speech-to-text engine because of the operating system, but you can also download the voice speech-to-text from Google. But you'll find it, and as you speak, Google will transcribe that language, that verbiage, and those words. You'll find it under the keyboard, under this. Now I'm going to take out of this presentation for a second because I just want to show you how slick this is. Now you see here I've got a Google Doc, and what I've done is if I open up a Google Doc on my device and I open up a Google Doc on my computer, I can work on the same doc. It's not required, but you'll see that I just appeared there because I opened up my document. Now if I pull up on my device, this will translate the words that I am speaking and will appear in my document. And so I can have dragon-like text appear, period. And that will transcribe and keep transcribing as long as I am talking, which is a great feature if you're trying to work and create documents. And as long as I talk and as long as I have that speech running, it will transcribe. Now, it doesn't have quite the ability to do documents and standard things like, you know, new paragraph, some of the drag-in commands that you would have that you're normally affiliated with. But it does have the ability to add periods. It does have the ability to somewhat correct grammar. But I find the hardest part for me is putting that information up on the screen and getting it into the document. And I can easily go back and make the edits and the transcription or the corrections as long as I don't have to type the thing. And so right there, that is a huge time saver for me personally when I can create a memo in Google Docs and have that appear. So again, you'll find that under the voice command key, that little microphone up in the corner under the keyboard. It works best at Google Keyboard, but again, it's available for any, if you're not using the Google Keyboard, if you have SwiftKey or one of the other keyboards, it works there. The next thing I like is Calendar, and I happen to use Google Calendar, but you can use a different one. The reason I like Google Calendar so much is because it's available anywhere, and I don't need to have Outlook on my desktop. I don't need to have an Exchange server to share calendars. I can do that through Google Calendar. Plus, I think for the most part, that I do have some complaints, for the most part, the Google Calendar app is pretty dang good. The one thing I like about it is the ability to create calendars that I can share. For instance, I have this Taylor family calendar, which my wife and I have for family activities and events that we share together, and we can put things up, and that appears right there on my Google Calendar and gives me notifications. She has that just as much as I do. That is across the board available for everybody. Same thing for Google Apps for Work. You can create shared calendars for shared resources, a conference room, a projector, things like that, or you can share your calendar, personal calendar, with staff. And so I really like that sharing ability. Plus, there is also a great search. So if you need to search through it, great available thing to do. Now, I also like scan and saving. And this is particularly in relation to Google Drive, which I use all the time. But there are other like Cam Scanner apps that can do it. But Google Drive now has a built-in, through its app, you can scan documents. So for instance, here's a pleading that I've got. I can scan this, take a picture, and scan the pages as I go on. Love that. That'll increase your productivity, save you expense at the courthouse or whatnot. Android Wear is a new feature. I have an Android LG watch. I have Android Wear, and I love it because I can get notifications, emails right to my wrist without having to pull out my phone. I can also respond to those, get information quickly, and make decisions or get the necessary information when I need to. There are other devices, Samsung's devices, enable you to make phone calls directly from them. Great feature. Extends the information that you have access to. And another thing I love is Chromecast. Chromecast works awesome on Android, but it also works with iOS. And what this is a little device that sits in the back of your TV and gives you the ability to send your images from the internet to the television. I use this in particular to send presentations wirelessly from a computer or from my phone to the projector. And so I don't need to have a wire. I can get it as long as I have internet access. It will pull it up, which gives you the ability to do cool things like add video that actually works in a presentation. I've used it to do in a trial to show location. I've used it to actually do a trial presentation. Another way that actually works to handle it. And if you're looking to expand your desktop space, Air Display is a way that you can do that. This is an app that connects with your tablet and your computer and gives you an extra screen without having to do a lot of work to get there. In this case, I now have 3 screens instead of 2, which was available for the computer. And I want to know what you think now that sets Android apart from other mobile operating systems, or does it set it apart at all?
Okay, great. The poll has launched. And the votes are coming in. This is our final poll, so if everyone can put in their votes, please. Okay, and it looks like the majority has voted. I'll go ahead and close and share the results. Oh, okay. There's not huge differentiators there. The majority said the ease of use is what sets Android apart, but then a close second is open source, followed by more options for devices and more power, just like 5%.
The options for devices kind of surprises me. There are a lot of options, but the easy use and the open source give a lot of extra options as far as what can be done with Android OS. Now I want to go quickly over some apps and then we'll answer some questions. The first couple of apps I'd like to suggest, I'm really into audiobooks and podcasts. So I'll suggest 3 apps. Audible, which if you click on that link or go to that link, you'll get a free 30-day trial. Overdrive, which is an ability to download books from your local library and listen to them. And then Pocket Cast, which is a way to download podcasts or other audio information. Great way to spend your travel time listening to an audiobook or something like that. I'm listening to American Sniper right now through Audible, or through Overdrive, so it's a great thing. Pushbullet is a lifesaver if you ever wanted to say, hey, I need to get that from my desktop to my phone, or let me take that to my phone. Pushbullet will do it. Free app, great resource. It allows you to send stuff wirelessly to your device, and if you need to pull it up in the future, it's saved on the Pushbullet site so you can go back and get it. The Chrome browser, and a lot of people are kind of anti-Chrome, but Chrome browser, the newest updates, give you the ability to have all of your stuff linked. So your passwords can be linked. Your websites you visited can be linked. So when I go home and I work from home on my computer at home and I open up my web browser, those same links are the same links that I come to the office and work in, as well as the same passwords. So I don't have to remember how to get into Pacer or into Fastcase because it's right there. It's saved, and it translates across all of my devices, desktop to phone or to tablet. Snapseed, I like to take a lot of pictures. Snapseed is a great way to edit, easy to use. It's got an auto feature that gives you, if you press that, it'll automatically adjust the picture to look awesome. If you're looking to read PDFs, I use Acrobat Reader, which is a basic program, which is just to read the PDF, but if I need to do some editing, which I do on my tablet, so I use Acrobat Reader on my phone or smaller tablets. On my big tablet, my 10-inch tablet, I use Easy PDF Reader. It's about $4 for Easy PDF Reader, but it's the best thing on the market. Gives you the ability to it's got text-to-speech, so it can read the stuff for you. I had an individual say, hey, I want to do this. Can I read pleadings or opinions, court opinions? Yeah, do it through this, and it'll read it to you, and so you can have it running in the background. If you're looking for encryption or privacy, Virtue or Vivo are 2 great options. Virtue is for email, Vivo is for files, connects to your desktop or to your Gmail account in the case of Virtue. Great price on Virtue, it's like $2.99 for a month, but it offers encryption for your Gmail, Outlook, and Hotmail account and Yahoo, I think, but particularly for Gmail and Google Apps. Vivo is downloads to your desktop, drop a file in there, and it'll encrypt it, and it'll upload it to your cloud storage box, Dropbox, Google Drive. And if you're looking to edit documents, Microsoft Office is available for tablets and phones. Tablets look a little different. It just barely came out about 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. So the tablet app looks a little bit different, has a lot of great features. If Microsoft would have done this, Google Drive would have been out of business, never would have had a problem. And that's the end of that. I'm ready for some questions, Stephanie.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. That was really an excellent presentation. And we'll get to those questions in just a second, but for those of you who have to leave us now, please take note of 3 things. MyCase offers a 30-day free trial, and because you attended this webinar today, you get a bonus discount. So after that free 30-day trial, if you note this promo code 10JEF15, you'll receive a 10% a 10% discount on the first 6 months. Secondly, when you close the webinar, 4 question surveys will pop up. Please take a quick moment to answer these survey questions. And for more incentive, we will randomly select one lucky survey responder to receive a $50 Amazon gift card. You'll also receive an email tomorrow with a link to the blog where you'll find the slides, the webinar recording, and the Amazon gift card winner. Okay, so now on to some of those fantastic questions. We definitely have too many that we can get to today, so the remaining we'll be making it to the blog. Okay, a first one. How can I stop getting 40 to 50 junk emails every day on my smartphone? I can't find a way to block them like on desktop Outlook.
That's going to depend. I use Google Gmail's Google app, and it's got a great spam filter. That's primarily why I use it. I also have the Outlook Exchange app, which is just the basic, and that's basically depends on the email that comes through the Exchange server at the office, and so I do get some on that. But Gmail is a great way to get rid of a lot of the spam if you can forward it onto your Gmail account. That's a hands down easy solution.
Okay, great. Another question. What is the minimum amount of RAM needed for lawyer applications? This person says they keep running out of room.
On a phone or a tablet, I would say you probably, most new devices come with 8 gigabytes, and that'll be enough. If we're talking about RAM to actually run the device, or as opposed to storage, they're 2 different things, but usually at least 8, 16, and 32 gigabytes are the most common. So I would find a device that has at least 8. Most Samsung devices, most of your new devices are going to have enough RAM to run the programs that you need.
Okay, great. I really like this question. How well will speech recognition work in a meeting with multiple voices?
It won't work too well. The great thing about speech recognition on the Google side is that it recognizes and learns your voice, and so it'll learn your inflections and things like that. When you try to take it out to the environment, it doesn't work so well. I would say you'd probably have a 50-50 chance of having it be successful enough to be meaningful. Okay.
Okay, sorry about that. Where they would like to know where they can find out which Android operating system is on their phone. They have a Stratosphere.
Okay. Click on the menu button, go to Settings, and About Phone, and it will tell you under the Android version, it will tell you what it is.
Okay, great. And you are cruising through these questions. We probably just have time for our last one. Talk about Google for Work versus just using Gmail, Google Drive, etc. with a general Gmail account.
Okay. Yeah, this is a big one, and it really takes more than the time that we have here. But I'll say this: Google for Work has different terms of service than standard Gmail. So your terms of service are going to determine what Google is willing to do. Google for Work has things like does not allow things like scanning of email and such like that. You can turn it off, and so that it won't send you advertisements. The terms of service are a big thing. If you're going to use it for a law firm, you really need to get a Google for Work account and use that as opposed to Gmail, which is intended for private. Um, Again, the terms of service are huge. And if you go onto my blog, you'll see a big old write-up between the two of them if you just type in terms of service on the search page.
Okay. Perfect. Well, your knowledge of all things Android is very impressive, Jeff, and thank you again for being here, and thanks to everyone who's joined us today. You'll receive that email tomorrow with the webinar recording and slides. So,
Thank
thanks,
you. I
everyone.
appreciate it.
Signing off. Bye-bye.